It's a question of perpetual interest to all in the beef industry, from producer to retailer and everyone in between. What factors have the most influence on consumer demand for beef in the United States? In mid-2012, the Beef Checkoff program commissioned a far-reaching study to identify the drivers of beef demand, aiming there to create, in effect, a roadmap for the industry to follow in future efforts to further bolster that demand. This study was conducted by three leading livestock economists, Ted Schroeder and Glenn Tonzer of Kansas State University and Jim Mintert of Purdue University. Over a 6-month period, from November of 2012 through May of 2013, this research team pursued this project.
What we set out to do in this project was to provide an analysis of a host of different information sources that the beef industry could use as an industry as a whole as they prioritize investments of checkoff dollars as the Beef Board decides how to best enhance beef demand in the future.
And in fact, the Beef Board through the Checkoff program was the main supporter of this effort.
The Beef Board was the primary supporter of this effort, and we got involved in reviewing a large body of previous literature that has been done on beef demand and understanding consumer preferences in the published arena. We also conducted a survey of consumers that had about just a little under 1,000 respondents that we worked with in this analysis. And then we also did a unique industry expert survey that had about 170 industry experts who have published and done research and been active in the industry, and solicited information from them on the drivers of beef demand, but more importantly on the feasibility of the industry to be able to adjust to or to target specific demand drivers as the industry strives to make changes and influence beef demand in the future.
Now, this is hardly the first time that the influences on beef demand have been researched, but this study differs greatly from those previous efforts.
In the past, what we have done and other researchers have done was look at the importance of individual determinants of beef demand. So some of that information was available previously. But what we had not done as a group, and the economics profession really as an entirety had not done, was to try and identify not only what's important, but what's the likelihood that we could actually have an impact or influence it. And that's really perhaps one of the unique contributions of this study, was that combination of importance of a demand driver and the ability to influence it with industry resources. And so going forward, I think that really gives us an opportunity to really have an impact with respect to beef demand and help the industry do a better job of targeting how it expends its resources and to try and improve beef demand and really improve the industry going forward.
And as a means of addressing this multidimensional issue, these economists identified several key factors that previous experience tells us regularly influence beef demand trends.
What we found as we distilled the past literature is that we really could categorize a wealth of different demand drivers into really what we thought were 7 succinct categories. And that sort of served as a framework, if you will, for the rest of the research that we conducted, and ultimately that sort of targeted our results to be able to identify specific things the industry can do. It really boils down to these 7, which would include food safety of the product, its product quality attributes, its price, its health attributes the product offers, it's the nutritional component of beef. There's a set of social factors that are out there that are part of the beef demand story. And finally, what some characterize as more sustainability types of influences. So those 7 ended up being a key set of factors that we found we could categorize basically all of the past literature kinds of demand drivers into. And we found as well, when we looked at the consumer surveys and the expert surveys, the information quickly distilled into those 7 key categories.
The idea here was to essentially rank these 7 in order of their importance to the direction of beef demand.
Ultimately, what we really want to do is first be able to determine which of those are most important drivers for the future for the beef demand arena. And then secondly, with importance comes which ones can the industry also influence. There are some demand drivers that are simply external to the industry that the industry has to live with. There are others the industry can influence through either production decisions or processing decisions or marketing decisions and interventions and those kinds of things. And so we really wanted to focus on both so that at the end of the day, our strongest impact can be where we can influence demand with important drivers. And if you intersect those two, you then have opportunity to really make some enhancements to demand in our study.
So through this study, those 7 factors were categorized as most important to focus on, of secondary importance, and less important to focus on. And here's how the results shook out.
That most important category would be most impactful, and the area that our experts that we surveyed that were forward-looking suggested we might have the most opportunity as an industry to influence. The factors that we looked at that fall into that top bucket of importance, if you like, is food safety, product quality, followed by price. Food safety and product quality in particular were regularly viewed as very influential and something that the industry had an opportunity to influence. So both of those points are attractive, if you like, to move them up and be of a higher priority as the industry makes investment decisions and allocation decisions, followed by price. Price is obviously very important. Most of our listeners are well aware of that. Experts in our surveys do suggest that there's less opportunity to influence beef price than maybe there is food safety and product quality, but given its strong impact on demand, and the role it has on meat choices, in particular relative prices to other protein choices, that is also of high importance.
The remaining factors, while still of great significance to the beef industry, fell into the lesser importance categories.
Yeah, what we'd categorize broadly as nutrition and health would be, if you like, a medium priority. So they're ranked 4th and 5th of these 7, followed by the least important bucket, which would capture what we called social aspects of sustainability.
But these researchers underscore strongly that all 7 of these demand drivers deserve ongoing attention from the industry, regardless of how they rank in this study.
All 7 of these broad factors have a role, and that's important to keep in mind when we talk about these 3 buckets or levels of importance.
A comment to follow up on that is, as Glenn's mentioned, these 7 are factors we found very important as a group as a whole. They're all relevant. So even though we go down the list and rank the lower ranked product attributes, does not mean they're irrelevant, does not mean the industry can ignore them. And we certainly see that with issues around sustainability factors and social issues. When they arise, the industry does need to be prepared and willing and able to respond to those.
For the industry, the real picture here is to think about all the different things that drive beef demand, and on an ongoing basis recognize that each and every participant in the industry really has an opportunity to contribute to improvements in beef demand, whether you be a producer, a processor, a retailer, or someone in the restaurant industry. There are opportunities to improve the product that we deliver to consumers. There are opportunities to improve the food safety, et cetera, up and down that line. And so I think a recognition that each of us has a role to play. This study really helps provide that overview, and then you can start thinking about it from an individual sector perspective and identify opportunities to make this a better environment for beef demand that would ultimately improve the economics of the entire industry. So each of us that participate in the beef industry have an opportunity to play a role in improving beef demand. This study really helps provide the big picture that people can look at and start looking for opportunities to contribute individually.
These are highlights from the just-released comprehensive study of the drivers of beef demand in the United States, conducted by Ted Schroeder and Glenn Tonzer of Kansas State University and Jim Mintert of Purdue University, and funded by the National Beef Board via the Beef Checkoff Program. See the entire report at www.mybeefcheckoff.com.